We're going to be taking a look at how we can pass arguments through methods, and this is the same thing as passing a parameter through a function. So we want to give that function, or in this case a method, a little bit more information, right? We want to allow it to use a variable, for example, inside of, say, its output, if we have that inside of the body of the method. So that's what we're going to look at today with arguments. So we see that I have two classes already created over here. I have the lemming.java, our lemming class, that has my main method, and I have this other class that I created, which is the rabbit.java. I'm going to go ahead and design a method inside of here to print out my name. So I'll go ahead and write public void, and we know since it's printing something, we can go ahead and write void, and you can write whatever you want to call it. So I'll call this print my name, and we know we always put those brackets, and then we write the body of our method. Now we've been leaving these brackets blank so far, but we're actually going to put something inside of them now. If you want to be passing through your argument, you need to write it inside of here. So in this case, I'm going to be passing through the variable name. That's the argument I want to use. I'm going to be finding a way to store my name on the variable name, and I want this method over here, the print my name method, to be able to use whatever my name is. Now I can't just go ahead and write name in here because it needs to know what type of data it is. So is it going to be a integer? Well, I'm not named after integers. Is it going to be a double? Well, I'm not named after doubles either. So what is my name going to be? Well, if you're going to be passing through a bunch of letters, a string of text, you're going to be passing through a string. So string is the data type if you're just going to have a bunch of letters. So in this case, I'm going to be passing through string name, and now I can use this name variable inside of here. So I'm going to go ahead and make an output system out print line, and I'm going to be outputting my name is, put a space. Now we know if we want to use some variables and some text inside of the same output, we just put a plus sign, name, and I can make this fancy and put a period at the end right over there. So it's going to say my name is name, and then a period. Now, our name needs to be stored right over here. Now, there's two ways for a program to figure out what our name is. Number one, we can use the Java scanner to politely input our name to the program and allow it to know what it is, and it'll be stored in the name variable. Or the program will have to hire a private investigator to follow us for weeks, and that's going to involve a lot of lawsuits, a lot of restraining orders, and a lot of money lost. So we're going to go with option number one. We'll head to lemming.java where our main method is, and we know we need to go ahead and import our Java scanner. So go ahead, before the class starts, we write import java.util.scanner and then put a semicolon at the end. Now we need to use this to create a scanner object. So we're going to go into our main method. We write the keyword scanner, then you call your scanner object whatever you want. I'm going to just call mine scan. I'll make this equal to new scanner and then brackets system.in. We've seen this many times in the series so far. So we have all this here. Now I'll use this scan object over here, the scan, whenever I want to call upon a user input. Well, I want my user to know what I want them to do, right? If I just go ahead and make the program run, they might not know that we want them to input their name. So we're going to make a little prompt right here to be polite. We'll write system.out print line, and we'll just tell them to please input your name. Simple enough. So it's going to tell them, please input your name. It's going to say, okay. Now we need to go ahead and store whatever they input inside of a variable. In this case, we want to store inside of the string name variable, right? The name variable that has a string data type. So go ahead and write that here, string name. We'll be assigning this to scan. So we use the scanner object we just created. And now we need to write next and then another keyword. If we're going to be looking to import we're looking for an input that's going to be an integer, we'll write int. If we're looking for an input that's going to be a double, we write double. But we're looking for an input that's going to be letters, it's going to be letters on a line, so we're going to write next line, and you're going to put your open and close brackets at the end there. So this means so far what we have is it's going to go ahead and say, okay, we create a scanner object. All right, I'm going to output this text to the screen, so the user is going to see please input your name, and then they're going to go ahead and input their name, and it's going to be stored in the name variable. Well, that's great, but we still want to call upon the method we created over here. Remember what I said in the first video, right? Your main method is going to be the spine of the program. It's your movie script. While you might not have all of your code written inside of this main method, if you do not make reference to what you want your program to do inside of this main method, it's going to completely ignore you. So it's not going to go ahead and check this method over here. It's not going to check this function you created over here. It's just going to ignore it unless you make reference to it. Now we know that if we want to make reference to, or we want to use something that's inside of another class, we need to create an object of that class. Let's go ahead and do that now. You start out by writing the name of the class, in this case rabbit, and you go ahead and create an object of that class. You can call this whatever you want. I'll call it rabbit object to keep things simple. So that rabbit object will always be used with a dot separator when I want to access something inside of this class, and we'll see how we do that in a moment. Now we're not finished here. We need to go ahead and make this equal to something. We'll make this equal to new, then you write the name of the class again, and you put open close bracket, and you end the line off like that. So now whenever I use rabbit object and a dot separator, I can go ahead and access things inside of other classes. I don't need to have all this information copied inside of the main method. I just need to go ahead and make reference to it, which means I'll go here. I use rabbit object, the rabbit object we created, which means I can access the rabbit class. I put a dot separator, and then you type out the name of what you want to access. I want to access print my name method, and we still need to write the name of the argument we're passing through. You don't need to write string again because it already knows that your name variable is using a string data type. So we don't need to pass that through again. And now our program is completed. So what's going to happen here, right? We know that our program is going to read top to bottom inside of our main method. First thing it says over here, create a scanner object, right? So whenever I use the word scan, it's going to ask for user input, right? Because it says system in. Now we're going to go ahead and prompt our user. We said, please input your name. So our user knows what they want to do, what we want them to do. Now they're going to input their name, and that's going to be stored here in the name variable. Now it's going to say create an object, which means I'm going to create this object because I want to access something that's written somewhere else. That's not inside of this lemon class, it's in the rabbit class. And then I use this object in a dot separator to access the print my name function, and that means it's going to be using whatever we inputted for a name. It's going to be passed through, which means this function over here is allowed to use whatever we inputted for the name, so whatever the user inputted, and it's going to be printing out this over here, my name is whatever you inputted, and then the period. Seems complicated, but in the end, it's going to be pretty simple. We're going to see this many times in this series. So go ahead and build this. We go ahead and press the run button over here. We see a prompt that says, please input your name. Okay, my name is Bob. And then the thing is going to come back and say, my name is Bob. Pretty awesome, right? Well, that's how we use arguments in Java. If you have any questions about arguments or creating classes or anything we've seen so far in this series, please leave a comment below and I will respond to you as soon as possible. And I'll see you guys in the next video.